If you've been emailing factories to manufacture your clothing line, my guess is that a lot of your emails are going into a black hole. Factories get a lot of inquiries, and if they have any sense that you don't know what you're talking about, they're going to ignore you. So how do you get factories to take you seriously? You go in prepared with some basic knowledge. You don't need to be an expert, you just need to sound a little bit like you know what you're talking about, even if you barely do. In this video, I'm gonna share pre-production checklists that will save you time, money, and make sure factories take you seriously. Following these checklists will show the factories that you're prepared, which means you're one step closer to manufacturing your clothing line. And make sure to watch to the very end where I'm gonna share word for word scripts you can use to email factories to make sure they respond. Hi, I'm Heidi, founder of SuccessfulFashionDesigner.com, and I teach designers like you the real-world skills you need to get ahead in fashion and manufacture your clothing line. I have a decade of industry experience, including starting my own fashion brand, and I've also interviewed over 100 designers on my podcast, many of whom have come from various backgrounds and have successfully started clothing lines. I've picked the best of all that knowledge and packed it up into these videos. A lot of people don't talk about this stuff, so I call it Fashion Industry Secrets Revealed. Now, before getting to the checklist, we need to understand the two types of factories that there are in fashion, because this will determine what you do and don't need to prepare in advance. The first type is called a full package provider, also known as an FPP. They can help you with all the steps of starting your clothing line, from refining a napkin sketch to producing bulk production. The second type is a cut, make, trim, CMT. They cut the fabric, they make the garment, and they add trims like labels. Depending on your budget and timeline, one may fit your needs better than the other. Let's dive in a little deeper into how each one works and the pros and cons to help you decide what may be the right fit for you. A full package provider. As I said before, they can do everything from start to finish. They're a one-stop shop. Some do all the work in-house, some act as a middleman to coordinate manufacturing for you. I've interviewed a few FPPs on my podcast. I'm going to link to those episodes below so you can learn a little bit more about how they work. But the bottom line is that they will help you with everything. It can be a great option if you want your hand held during the entire process, but it does cost a lot more. Let's go through the specific pros and cons of an FPP. Pros: they do everything for you, minimizing mistakes and oftentimes speeding up the timeline. They may have access to suppliers you can't get to. They may have bulk buying power, which means you can get access to materials that are only available in large quantities. The cons of working with an FPP: it costs more. There could be limitations based on their resources and network. You may have less control over certain parts of the process. Now, let's go over a CMT, a cut, make, trim supplier. These are also known as sewing contractors. With a CMT, you provide all the raw materials, including fabric, trims, buttons, all of that, as well as patterns and a tech pack, which is a set of instructions on how to make your garment. This means you'll need to do all the legwork of sourcing fabric, putting the tech pack together, finding a pattern maker. You can save money, but there's also a lot more opportunity to make mistakes. But if you're a DIY go-getter, working with a CMT is a great way to learn the entire manufacturing process and do a lot of the work yourself. So what are the pros of working with a CMT? It can cost less for you to independently source and manage everything yourself. You will learn all of the super nitty-gritty details about manufacturing a clothing line. And you can work with any supplier you can get your hands on. And the cons of working with a CMT: it can be a lot more work and time, also known as sweat equity. If something goes wrong, one supplier may blame another. I've seen situations where the factory blames the pattern maker if the garment doesn't come out right, and vice versa. But there are ways you can manage to make sure that this doesn't happen. Now, quick startup fashion tip before we dive into the pre-production checklist and what you need to have ready to make sure your factory takes you seriously is that not all factories perfectly fit into the CMT or the FPP molds. Some are a hybrid. For example, some CMT factories can also help you with pattern making, but they won't source your fabric. All right, now let's jump into the checklist. We know the two types of factories, so what do you need to have ready before you reach out to them to make sure that they take you seriously? We'll start with the checklist for an FPP, a full package provider. Remember, they do all of the work for you from a rough idea to finished bulk production. So if you're reaching out to an FPP, you really only need 2 things. 1, a rough idea. This can be a napkin sketch, a magazine tear, or a bunch of garments from your closet. If you have an idea about the end functionality but aren't sure how to execute it, that's okay. Your FPP should be able to work with you and figure out all the details. 2, money. Since an FPP is a very handheld service, you need cash. Depending on your design, what the development process is going to look like, how complicated it is, the prices vary widely. But be prepared to spend at least $5,000 on just initial development. This doesn't include paying for and buying bulk production. And that's it. A rough idea and money is all you need to reach out to an FPP. So what do you need to reach out to a CMT, a cut, make, trim supplier? The checklist is a little more extensive. Let's go through it. Remember, they cut the fabric, they make the garment, and they trim it, adding labels and hang tags, things like that. Now, I'm going to go through a general list of what you should have prepared before you reach out to a CMT. But remember, all factories work a little bit different. If you want to reach out just to see how they work, I have free email scripts that'll help you with this. I've linked to all those below. All right, here's what you want to have prepared. 1, a well-developed idea. This doesn't mean your idea can't evolve during development. Most designs go through a few iterations, but your concept needs to be much more hashed out than a napkin sketch. Number 2, you need a complete tech pack or at least tech sketches. A tech pack is a blueprint that tells your factory how to make your garment. It includes details on what materials to use, fit, sizing, color, all the nitty-gritty stuff they need to know. Within your tech pack are technical sketches of your garment showing all the details of construction, where there's stitching, where there's pockets, how the garment works, all of that. To make sure factories take you seriously, tech sketches should be done digitally in a software like Adobe Illustrator. They're often easier to read and make you look more professional. Tech packs can feel overwhelming, but the more upfront work you do, the more success you'll have in production. You'll save so much time and money. I have a free tech pack template plus a ton of videos on how to use it. I'll link to all of that below. Number 3, a garment for fit reference. Approaching a CMT supplier with a garment that you have for reference is going to give you a huge leg up. It can be a garment that you bought in the market that's similar to your design, or maybe you've already worked with a seamstress who sewed up a sample for you. Maybe you even sewed one up yourself. This isn't absolutely required, but it'll help show the factory that you're serious and that you're prepared and that you're easy to work with. It'll also make sure the development process goes a little more smoothly. Number 4, fabric sourced with at least a swatch in hand or some sample yardage. Now, when it comes to sourcing fabric, there's a couple things you want to make sure. If you just have a swatch or you just have enough sample yardage, you're going to want to make sure that your fabric supplier is going to keep that fabric in stock so that 1 month, 2 months, 6 months down the road, when you're ready to place your bulk production order, they still have that same fabric in stock. Because if your fabric quality changes from the time you do sampling to the time you order bulk production, small changes even can really affect fit and the drape of the garment, and you can be forced to go through the development and prototyping process all over again to make sure your production comes out right. If you're not sure where or how to source fabric, I have a free guide that teaches you step-by-step where to find wholesale suppliers, even if you only need a few yards. I've linked to it below. Number 5, money. Yes, manufacturing a clothing line does cost money. How much you're going to need varies widely depending on your product and where you're doing manufacturing. I'm not going to give you any specific numbers because the range is too big, but if you don't have any type of budget to put towards this, you're not ready to be reaching out to factories. Now, when you are ready to reach out to factories, whether it's a full package provider, FPP, or a cut, make, trim supplier, CMT, here's an email template that you can use to make sure they take you seriously. A couple things to note in this email. You want to show them that you've done a little bit of research and checked them out to make sure that they're a good fit for where you're trying to go. And you also want to show them that you do have some money budgeted. They get so many inquiries, and to show them that you're serious, show them you have cash ready. Again, there's more templates I have like this for various scenarios to email factories or trim or fabric suppliers. Those are all free, and I've linked to them below in the description. So where does that leave us? The key to manufacturing and getting prepared for production to make sure that factories take you seriously is to go in prepared and armed with a little bit of knowledge. They don't expect you to be an expert, and of course you'll have questions. But if you've done this work up front, they'll be way more excited to work with you, and you will save so much time and money during the development process. Again, I have a ton more free resources to help you with this. I've included all those below in the description. Thanks so much for watching. If you like this video, please give me a thumbs up and subscribe. And for more free tips, tutorials, and insights on getting ahead in fashion, stuff you don't see here on YouTube, head on over to my website, successfulfashiondesigner.com. And I'd love to hear from you. Let me know below in the comments, what questions do you have about reaching out to factories? Yes, you don't need to be an expert. You just need to know that you sound... Nope, you don't need that much.